So with the trailer for Halloween Kills being released last week, buzz for the movie is pretty much at an all-time high, but are people getting sick of Jamie Lee Curtis and the entire story arc of Laurie Strode? Hey there guys, and welcome back to Dino Review. So over the last week we got a new trailer for Halloween Kills, and there's a huge amount of buzz around the movie for sure, but one thing I've noticed online is there's also this growing concern about Jamie Lee Curtis and honestly if she's outstayed her welcome. So the character of Laurie Strode of course is synonymous with the Halloween series, being a huge character in the franchise for over 40 years. But I did want to make this video and just kind of give my own opinion on the character and honestly why I think she deserves to still be in the franchise. Now guys, as always, remember this is just my views on the character and the series. If yours are different, make sure you let me know in the comments down below. Point number one is Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie Strode links us back to the original movie. So with Halloween 2018, the big draw of that movie was honestly that was going to be a direct continuation of the first film in the franchise. With this one, although Jamie Lee Curtis was potentially meant to be killed off at the end of 2018, it does make sense if we're going to get more sequels to carry her story on. Her and Michael have a huge amount of history, but as well as that, with having John Carpenter and Jamie Lee Curtis back on board, it gives us more of a link to the original movie. Sure, with Halloween Kills we have a lot of returning characters, but honestly I don't think any of them could actually carry the franchise at this point. I think Laurie also carries a lot of baggage from that movie, so whether we like it or not, it just gives us a really good storyline that we can again harken back to. We can go through the flashbacks of 1978 again, whether she's in it or not. She gives us a center point, really, a character that we can identify with, that we can constructually look at and actually see ourselves in. As well as that, Laurie will definitely be a sort of anchor in the movie to again harken back to the 1978 film. Although there's a huge body count in this one, there's a hell of a lot of blood and gore, we still need a character who we're going to be potentially worried about could be killed off. With Karen and Allison, although we could worry they may be killed off, I think if one of them was killed off, we wouldn't care about the character as much. Instead, we would care about Laurie's reaction. And for me, that's just why she's vital to the series. Point number two is Laurie is the new Loomis. If you look at any of the Halloween movies, they've generally had a big actor or actress anchor the movie. With Laurie Strode, with Jamie Lee Curtis's character, she has potentially become the new Loomis in these new set of movies. Even if you look at Halloween 4, Halloween 5 and Curse of Michael Myers, some will say they're not the best sequels in the series, but what makes them good, and honestly what makes them quite memorable, is Donald Pleasence's performance as Dr. Loomis. With Jamie Lee Curtis, she's actually taking over that role, and again she is someone that the audience can go to. They can get their information from her and they can believe who Michael Myers is, or at least what he is, when she calls him the shape. It does harken back to those great dialogue moments we had with Loomis in the original movies that can now be carried over to Jamie Lee Curtis. For me, some of the fun things to think about with Jamie Lee Curtis's character in these new movies is honestly her relationship with Loomis. What happened in the 40 years since then, and how much of Loomis's psychosis and his craziness did he actually put on Laurie. A lot of people will say, you know, she's a little bit out there, she's a bit gun friendly in the new movies, but you gotta remember she was getting all of her information from Dr. Loomis. Since Donald Pleasence isn't really around to give us that part, it's a great way for Jamie Lee Curtis to take over the role and give her version of that character. Point number three, it gives the original movie a proper ending. If you look at the original series of Halloween, Halloween 2 gave us a ridiculous twist of Laurie Strode being Michael Myers' sister. Although I enjoy that storyline, looking back on it, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. As well as that, Halloween 4 to Halloween 6 went in a completely different direction and gave us a cult storyline with strange cults and druids, and again, although I enjoy it, it was so left field that it was absolutely crazy. We then got Halloween H2O where we got a proper ending, only for it to be cut off by Halloween Resurrection. So there's never really been a great beginning, middle and end to this series, whereas with Halloween 2018, by removing the sister storyline but still giving us the town of Haddonfield and the effects it had on Laurie Strode and everyone living there, it does connect the original movie in a very organic way and gives us a nice proper ending. Point number 4 is that the franchise doesn't actually work without Laurie Strode. Now this might be a controversial one, and I'm sure a hell of a lot of people will disagree with me, but if you look at the overall series, it does actually make sense. With Halloween 1 and 2, the story works because the audiences were connected to Laurie Strode and her story arc. With the Torn trilogy, she was still involved in the overall series. It was still her daughter, and her death was still mentioned in those movies. H2O brought the character back, and we had one of the biggest Halloween movies in over 2 decades. Once they killed her off, the Halloween series died another death again. Even the remake has her character. And again, what I do think with Laurie Strode, although she doesn't necessarily need to be in these movies, Jamie Lee Curtis in particular does add something to the overall franchise. The exact same way that Donald Pleasence did it with the Torn trilogy. And you could still say they could have killed Jamie Lee Curtis off in the 2018 movie, but at that point, audiences hadn't really connected enough with Allison or Karen. Now again, you could put that down to writing, of course, but I still don't think they just had that connection at all. I think Jamie Lee Curtis carried a lot of that movie, and it makes sense that they're going to bring that over to the next 2 films. Point number 5, this was meant to be a 2-parter, and now it is a trilogy. So with Halloween 2018, the entire idea of this was always that it was meant to be a 2-parter, and potentially Laurie Strode would die depending on how successful or not successful the movie was. So it does make sense that she will be in all 3 movies. There's a lot of people hoping that she gets killed off in Halloween Kills, but if you're making a trilogy, that would make no sense. It would be like killing Luke Skywalker off in The Empire Strikes Back. Again, although Allison could definitely be in it, I just don't think audiences care enough for her character to make that a huge billing in the last movie. I do think Jamie Lee Curtis will probably sit a lot of this one out. I don't see her being in a huge amount of the movie, and instead I do think Laurie Strode will just be in a hospital for most of the film. I think that's a great choice because again, it just gives us more time with Allison and Karen that we didn't get in the 2018 version. So if all 3 women do come together in Halloween Ends, the stakes are raised and there's a hell of a lot more characters we're going to care about. Finally, my last point is Laurie deserves a win. If you look at the entire Halloween series, Laurie Strode has never gotten a really happy ending. The original series, she was killed off screen in a car crash and they continued on with her daughter. With Halloween H2O, she finally got this great ending and she was killed off in a really embarrassing and pathetic way in Halloween Resurrection. Even in the remake, Laurie, either depending on the alternative version you watch of the movie, is killed at the end of Halloween 2, or else she's put into an asylum, turning out like Michael at the end of the movie. Overall, her character just doesn't have a great story arc no matter what way you look at it. So I do think Laurie Strode and Jamie Lee Curtis's character deserves to rest for sure, but I do think she needs a good ending to go out on. Beyond that, I am hoping maybe in 10 years we get a new Halloween movie with a brand new storyline and a revitalizing of the character, similar to what we get with Dracula or the Wolfman throughout the years. But guys, if you are excited to see Jamie Lee Curtis and the character of Laurie Strode back in Halloween Kills, let me know in the comments. And if you're sick of seeing her character on screen, make sure you let me know also. Remember guys, as always, if you do want to see more videos like this one, you can click any of the links down below, and I will see you guys in the next one.